from that and from your advocacy and what you see in the future, what is the importance, you think, of the PH and Australian bilateral dialogue in the legal field for the Philippines, Australia, and also for FALAW? Where do you see it?
Okay. Well, I think that it's a mixture of things. I think the real high end of what this is trying to achieve is the maintaining of the rule of law in the Philippines, which is something that is extremely important. The rule of law is incredibly important for the trust of the community, the whole of the country, the people. The Philippines is a country that abides by the rule of law, and it has a legal system that is well trained. But the last decade or so has seen that there have been some real challenges with the way in which the law has kept pace and how things are really carried out in the Philippines. The importance of the rule of law, of course, has a very a highly important role to play because the Philippines is a democracy. And at the moment, because of where the Philippines is placed geographically, it is an extremely important bastion of democracy in that particular area. And we all know the reason why, because there are tensions that have developed in the West Philippine Sea. And it's clear that the Filipinos have a very strong nationalistic urge to protect their interest in the West Philippine Sea, otherwise known by some people as the South China Sea, but the Philippines, of course, now emphasises that it should be called the West Philippine Sea. So the tensions are obvious, and I think some of the motivations of the Australian government is to ensure that we maintain excellent relationships between our two countries, that the Philippines remains a strong democracy, that it maintains the rule of law, and these things are incredibly important at the moment in a world that has tensions all over the place. But clearly the West Philippine Sea is a very important area for all our countries, particularly for the stability of the region, but also for trade routes between Australia, the Philippines, and all of the surrounding Asian countries. Those trade routes into the Northern Hemisphere are vital. So I see it, and I think our government sees it as an interest of both our countries that we build effective relationships and supportive relationships across the whole of the region. And to be honest, I think our country has not attended to our relationships with the Indo-Pacific region, but also the South China Sea or West Philippine Sea region effectively enough. And fortunately, our government, I think, has now seen that and is putting a lot more emphasis on our relationships. So I think that hopefully that answers your question, but I think it sort of sounds as though it's a big deal because of the geopolitics, but I think it does sit in the background of everything that we're trying to achieve. But at a different level, I think the rule of law and the maintenance of that within the Philippines is critical for the trust of the population, because the population have to trust their courts, they have to trust their judicial and their legal systems to be performing properly, and they have a stake in that. So, these are all the motivations that I suppose we have in mind. We need a strong rules-based democracy, and during these unsettled times. So, I think hopefully that answers some of the questions that you're heading towards.
But I just have one question for FALAW. Where do you see FALAW's role in that, and also where do you hope FALAW's role to be in that bilateral dialogue between Australia and
I think FALAW's role is to create relationships. And from what you told me just a little while ago, there are a number of people coming from the Philippines very shortly, from the Department of Justice, in particular. I think the importance of relationship building between the lawyers that make up FALAW and the people in the Philippines is critically important. And relationships are important. One thing I can tell you, may or may not know, but after our visit to the Philippines last year with the three of us, where we saw the stakeholders, we were aware that the Chief Justice Gizmundo and a number of his Supreme Court judges and staff were coming to Melbourne because they have a memorandum of understanding with the Federal Court of Australia. Our Supreme Court doesn't have that memorandum of understanding, but I decided we would do our best to at least introduce the Chief Justice and his colleagues to our Chief Justice, which I did. And we had a meeting. But the other important thing is that we took the Filipinos to the Victorian Institute of Forensic Medicine down in South Melbourne, which of course houses the Coroner's Court, because we wanted them to see our Coroner's Court, which is world standard. And we took a tour and had some discussions and presentations down there. And hopefully and I'm sure they did go back to the Philippines with an idea in mind of what a forensic institute might look like. And I think that was very valuable. But I think what it does demonstrate is that it's very important to build the relationships, and FALAW has a role in doing that. A little bit after that, of course, a few days after that, when the Chief Justice was here, FALAW took him out to dinner at a local Philippine restaurant and with all the people and all the staff. And I was invited to that, and that was something that was conducted by FALAW. All of those things are good, and they're all valuable, and they're all building connections, and they're all building relationships. So I see the role of FALAW is really engaging with these projects as best they can, doing what you're doing in terms of encouraging people to come, to get them to meet people. I think in my nearly 74 years, I think I've learnt that it really is important to build these relationships. Face to face is very important. Getting to know people and moving things forward in a positive way, which I am confident FALAW can do.
Could you give us more about advice from your experiences for law students or legal professionals who are thinking to coming to the bar and specialize in criminal law? What are your experience? What is your advice to them from your experiences?
Okay. I get asked this often by students, for people who obviously are interested in their careers and where that might take them. I think the thing that as I've remarked before, with being a lawyer, particularly a barrister and a lawyer in practicing criminal law, is that you get to deal with people. This is not so much the commercial law or probate or tax or those sorts of mortgages and things. With criminal law, you are dealing with people's problems. Whether you're prosecuting them or whether you're defending them, you're dealing with their day-to-day problems where they've got into trouble. And there are, obviously, in that scenario, there are obviously inevitably victims, people affected by crime. And you have to consider those, particularly as a prosecutor or a judge, that I have to be very mindful of the interests of the victims of crime. And I think, as my friend Lex Lasry once observed, that if you go into the criminal law, whether you're a prosecutor or whether you're a defender, you are a human rights lawyer. I think people should remember that, because human rights lawyers are not just people who defend the weak and vulnerable and the oppressed. Prosecutors are also human rights lawyers because they have to be mindful of the rights of others. And as a prosecutor, I have many times protected the interests of someone that I've been prosecuting, because the role of the prosecutor is to be fair and to conduct fair proceedings And sometimes you have to do things that the victims of crime might think, well, that's odd because the prosecutor shouldn't be saying those sorts of good things about someone to a judge, but someone has to say it. And
Mm-hmm.
if the defence counsel have missed out or forgotten something or they're
Mm-hmm.
not up to the job, it's the role of the prosecutor to make sure the accused person has a fair deal.
Mm-hmm.
So for anyone going into the criminal law, I think you need to be interested in people. You need to want to be able to talk to people, to engage with them, to engage with their problems, whether they're problems involving violence or drugs or mental health. I think you do have to be compassionate and
Mm-hmm.
respectful of them. Um, but it is inevitably an interesting it's interesting profession. I think that it might be said that if you go headstrong into the criminal law, you're probably never going to end up a millionaire. If that's what you want to do, you've got to head for the what I might describe as the duller areas of the law, but the ones that seem to generate money through business and commerce and so on. With criminal law, you're inevitably engaging with legal aid or people that don't have very much money, and funds from government briefing prosecuting lawyers is never that great. Legal aid fees are never that wonderful. So you do have to work pretty hard. There are a lot of nights where you will work into the early hours of the morning to put your case together and work very hard to do it. So the other thing about I think about being a criminal lawyer is that we all like to think we'll do the perfect cross-examination and we'll do our case perfectly, but I can assure you you will never do a perfect 100% cross-examination. It just doesn't happen. So if you're interested in perfection, perhaps not it's not the game for you because you can do it very well and do
Mm-hmm.
it excellently. But the attraction to me is that you actually will never do it quite perfectly. So I think that's something to keep in mind. But I think it is really important to keep in mind that you do have to be interested in people
Mm-hmm.
to get engaged in criminal law.
Yeah.
For me, it's been a fascinating journey,
Mm-hmm.
and every day has been a different one. So if you're interested in having an interesting career, the criminal law will be one for you.
Thank you for that. Do you have any invitation, as a final note, do you have any invitations for any initiatives or events that you know of that you want people to engage in, particularly any upcoming Australian dialogue that you want people to know more about and, to
Well,
anticipate?
I think I've pretty much described what we're doing with the institute.
Mhm.
We've gone into that in some detail. I see that as from my personal point of view, the ongoing development of the institute is something we're going to look forward to in the future. I sincerely hope that it takes off. These things are subject, of course, to politics and political affiliations. Things can change
Mm,
very quickly in the Philippines. But the government, through Executive Secretary Bersamin, and also with the complete agreement of the President,
mhm,
have agreed to push forward the Institute. I think it will happen. It might be a difficult journey from time to time, but it is so very important for the betterment of the country. So I think that the development of that is one area that I would say that is something to be looking forward to,
mhm,
and I'm sure FALAW in various ways can contribute to the discussion about that, even if it's contributing to the discussion, to educating people here or educating your members about what it is all about, because all of those members of your fellow family will have their own families back in the Philippines and
mhm,
relations and relatives and friends and so on. So it is important to keep the conversation going.
mhm. But that's a great final note. But thank you, Justice Champion, for today, for sharing your journey and initiatives with us today. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks, Diane, for asking me to contribute to this. It's a real thrill for me to contribute to Fallow, and I hope I can go on contributing into the future. So
It's
I
our
wish you
pleasure.
Wish you all the best of luck with it.
Thank you.